Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 385, recorded live on Saturday, June 6th. I'm your host, Patrick. This week's screenshot, Crackle thanks the gods that his village is still safe after battling firebrand gnolls in the 225th screenshot of the week. It's a nice little shot there. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, online at DDOCast.com, or on the DDO forums as well. Glad you could join us today. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber the awesome podcast hosting network. These shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be on Sunday, June 14th. You can stay updated by following us on social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com. On the podcast this week, we've got some more Update 26 news, Warlock news, a glimpse into the future of casters. But first, we have another DDO debate. And to introduce the fighters, here we go. We have from Damsels of DDO, she's the one that everyone else follows. Everything centers around her. She uses mana faster than any other caster. It's Mythery.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Mythery. I guess I should have done that as the jingle, but oh well. He's a leader in the High Lords of Valkyria on Solana. He has his own YouTube channel with raid guides, Druid videos, and more. It's Voodoo. Welcome back, sir.
Woo! Debate night.
And from the Sublime Permadeath Guild, you can watch him on DDO Splat. He's a self-proclaimed rage joiner. It's Chai.
Yeah, buddy. What's going on?
Welcome. For those out there, I'm changing the rules slightly. We're still going to do the same debate structure, but instead of awarding XP at the end, I will give my summary of the various arguments. The XP felt, frankly, a little arbitrary, as best as I could make it not arbitrary, and I didn't really feel like it was adding a whole lot to the show. So we're not going to do that part, but we will still debate. And arguments should be creative, passionate, amusing, and factual, but they should not be mean, and counterpoints and interruptions are encouraged at my discretion. So we are going to start with our first question, which is, are we excited about Warlocks? Warlocks are coming.
Oh, yeah, we are.
We want to know if people are excited. So we are going to start with Mythery on this one.
Yes, I'm very excited. Anytime I get to play a new casting type class person, I'm ready.
And Voodoo?
Hell yeah. I'm in the same boat. I love my casters. I exclusively play casters. I played a little bit with Warlock on Lemania, not enough to have an informed opinion, but I'm really excited.
Just to be clear, you can use information you may have gleaned from Lemania, but the point here is not really like that you've tested it. It's like this is kind of a preview, right, of Warlocks. So, Chai, what about you? Are you excited about Warlocks?
Yes, I think it's going to bring a new dynamic to the game. It'll be the first class that has like an real at-will spell ability. And I can see a lot of multi-class synergies that didn't normally exist before. So I'm definitely excited to have that class enter the game.
So since everyone's kind of on the same page about this, what would you say to people who aren't excited about the Warlock and don't care and think it's kind of a waste of time? It's an open question. Anyone wants to go?
Don't play it then. That's okay.
What I was gonna say.
You know, if something new comes out in DDO and you're not interested in it, there's 5,000 other things you could do.
Okay, maybe we'll change. How would you get them excited about it, if you can, maybe?
Probably through playing it myself and demonstrating that, yes, it does fit into the dynamic of this game.
Well, taking a play out of the marketing playbook, there's different ways that you can market things to people. You can use puppies, you can use naked women, and what's the other way? I forgot. So I guess I would use puppies and scantily clad women to get them excited about Warlock.
Money?
Money,
one
yeah,
using?
okay. Let's go with that.
Well, maybe if they're not technically caster people, it looks like there's going to be a melee kind of a warlock too. So.
All right. Well, since this one doesn't seem to be overly lively, I think it's all a great point. It seems like everyone's excited about it. I guess I did pick two primarily caster folks. I did once mention that Voodoo has as many melee characters as hairs on his head. But yeah, and I like what Chai said. Chai made some great points about it. It's a new dynamic. It's kind of an at-will spell-like ability, so it should be fun. So the second question is, what Warlock ability are we most looking forward to? And we're going to start with Voodoo.
Okay, I play, like I said, I haven't played with it enough on Lemania to have an informed opinion, and that's what makes me an expert here. But what I was really excited about is that at-will casting. It was so weird to cast all this stuff and not use any mana. And like I chose I think it was the Enlightened Spirit Tree, and they have that, I think it's Cure Moderate or Cure Serious Wounds, and I'm healing myself all day long, and it's not costing a damn thing. How cool is that? And I can heal party members. There was a regular cooldown. It's not like some SLAs where there was like a really long cooldown compared to the normal version of like Cure Moderate Wounds. It just had a couple second cooldown, heal myself and party members all day long, no mana. How cool is that?
Chai?
I like the different blast shapes. I went with the other PRE on Lemania, actually, and I was able to... There's like a toggle where you can set your blast shape, so it's almost like a chain lightning, where it bounces off one mob and hits like two more or something like that. So when the tank that we were playing with gathered up a whole bunch of mobs, we all just used that blast shape and knocked them all out. It kind of, at that point, almost played like a ranged character with improved precise shot, where you're hitting multiple mobs per chain and just doing lots and lots and lots of damage, and from a pretty significant safe distance. So it's not like you have to stand right up close or anything like that. I thought that was pretty fun.
Mythery, what Warlock ability are you most looking forward to?
I agree with the first thing Voodoo said. Yep, that's it.
At will casting.
And the second thing he said, I'm not sure about, and what Chai said was fascinating, endlessly fascinating. That's my comment.
I'd say my kind of thing that I'm kind of looking forward to is I'm kind of interested about how the aura works from Enlightened Spirit. I think there's some really interesting things you can do with that. I'm kind of looking forward to see how different people go that direction. I probably won't, except maybe for some special things that we do for a DDO splat. But I'm kind of interested to see how people playing with that as well.
That's exactly where I'm going to go first, Patrick, because I'm going to try to do the tanky aura, bring them into my aura, as heavy armor as I can wear. I know that tree at least can use medium armor, so I'll let you know.
It's just kind of an interesting play style, because if you think about you're adding something to a class, or not just a class, but a kind of a build, right? Like you can throw 3 levels of paladin or fighter on pretty much anything, and you have a pretty decent tanking, the start of a tank character. So seeing how that will play with that aura will be kind of interesting. So I think, me personally, I'll probably spend more of my stuff in the Tainted Scholar and Soul Eater tree, because I'm not looking for another tank build. I want my Warlock to actually be more Warlock-like than being more of a tank. But that's because of what I have the rest of the characters in my stable. But are there any other abilities you guys are looking forward to that maybe aren't on the top of the list, but you're kind of interested to see how they play out?
I'd like to see what the max DC is on some of the stuff that each one of the trees can do as well. Like if you pick Fae, you can pretty much be your own crowd control. Dancing ball, round them up, and then bounce a whole bunch of chain blasts, I should say, all over the place. Mass hold, stuff like that.
I'm really curious to see how they're going to ramp up and scale the damage to the Eldritch Blast, because right now you don't need Maximizer and Power, and I just don't really understand how that's going to scale. How are you going to increase the attack rate or the amount of damage that we're doing with it? But we're really early on. I'm sure there's some way to do that.
Lots and lots and lots of spell crit. Like if I look at those trees, like even the first 3 levels is like plus 10 spell crit. You're like, dude, 10% spell crit for 3 levels of a class? Like, what am I not going to multi this with?
Awesome. So I'm
Does
gonna,
anybody know? I mean, do any of the meta magics work with that blast? Like quicken?
the Eldritch Blast itself, no. But some of the activated abilities, some of which include Eldritch Blast stuff with them, yes. Or like there are different activated forms of Eldritch Blast or other abilities, yes. I think is what they.
Plus, they have the regular spells too.
They do have some regular spells, yeah. They have a very small selection of spells and spell point pool. But
It seemed like most of them were buffs.
Yes, a lot of them are.
there's some of the packs can do death spells. And on that note, I'm going to throw an extra question here because we seem to be cruising along through this first set of questions and not so much of a debate style. What Warlock pact do you like on paper the best? And we'll start with Chai.
I like Fae because of all of the enchantment stuff. It can really help a party in more than one way. It's not just blastomancy at that point. It's keeping heavy-hitting mobs, which a lot of those like hard-hitting, strength-based, brute-style mobs in Epic Elite are the ones that have the low will saves. They're also the ones that hit the hardest, so if you can lock those guys down, it's pretty much blast at will and anybody else that wants to attack them as well. So I think that will probably be the one that helps a party out or even a raid out the most. Depending upon what they do with the healing, that one might like compete, but I definitely think the one with the crowd control, it'll almost play like a ranged bard with a lot more damage dealing capability.
Mythery, do you have an opinion on what Warlock pack you're going to choose?
Well, I had about, I don't know, like 45 minutes, and I did go over and put a Warlock together, but I have time to play him. And I picked the last one, which is the ancient.
The Great Old
I
One?
don't remember the Great Old One, because it sounded like I could do more damage with that, and I also thought I had selected Force of Personality, and I thought that would go well together. But like I said, I didn't get to really try it out. So.
Voodoo?
You know, I'm liking the Fae so far. I mean, there's definitely that crowd control aspect to it. There's some crowd control components to, like the Fiend has the Binding Chain, Power Word Blind, but you've got the dancing spells with Fae. But you know, I haven't played around with it too much to have like a super informed opinion about it. So it's just at face value, I'm liking the Fae.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to end up with a Great Old One, mostly because I have a feeling my Warlock won't end up being really high DCs, crowd control type, and I'm a fan of Power Word Kill, and Great Old Ones get Power Word Kill. I like being able to just kill stuff. It could be generally useful. All right.
I wonder if it's going to be the same 5-minute cooldown on PWK.
I assume so. It's the same. Everything says it's about the same spell. I think it's like 3 to 5 minutes, somewhere in there. It's a lengthy cooldown, but I have found it to be rather effective on my sorcerer when there's just something up there that I really just don't want to deal with it. Boom, you're dead. Moving on. So, all right, our next question, and this is a bit of a debate on the forums. Should warlocks have alignment restrictions? And we'll start with Mythery on this one.
No, I don't see why. To be honest.
That's fair. Voodoo?
You know, this is one that I haven't really given much thought to. I mean, if you're gonna have a fiend pact warlock, right now you can't be good. It seems to make sense. I mean, how are you gonna justify that you make this pact with a fiend and you're good?
That's a fair point. Chai?
I'm going to say no alignment restrictions. The way that this worked in 3.5 is depending upon your PRE. Some of the PRE had alignment restrictions, like the Fiend Pact stuff was any non-good. But there were a couple of prestige where you had to be good in order to get like the divine channeling stuff and things of that nature. They didn't have alignment restrictions for the class, but the prestige versions they did. I don't think that they're going to do that here. I think it's just going to be any alignment. I don't know if they can implement alignment restrictions for specific prestige in DDO.
Yeah, I think there was some. Varguel, I think, made a really good point that if you're going to make an argument that a warlock has an alignment restriction just in general, you need to compare it to why would a sorcerer not have that same alignment restriction, because there was a lot of comparisons between the two, particularly in terms of power level. But I think Voodoo's point that if you're going to be a fiend, it seems really strange that you could be a good fiend. That's kind of a strange thing in general. They are.
Yeah, but we play a game with Pale Masters.
It's true.
I'm going to make myself undead and channel negative energy, but I'm going to be lawful good, so I can multi with Paladin and have humongous saving throws.
That's a fair point. And they have said that they want Fiend to be non-good, and they want Great Old One, I think, to be non-lawful.
Yep.
I think is what they're shooting for.
Sure.
So they're still trying to figure out if they can actually do that tech-wise, but
if they can implement it, it'd be decent.
Yep.
I can see it.
All right. We'll go with our last Warlock theme question. Do we really need Warlocks? Should they have chosen a different class? So, Voodoo, we'll start with you on this one.
Do they really need anything? The answer is no. But variety is the spice of life. More is better. Now, I heard a rumor last year that they were going to come out with a new class, Knight. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. We've got Paladin. We've got Purple Dragon Knight. We've got Fight. We really need Knight. So when I compare the Warlock choice to the Knight choice, hell yeah. This is 10,000 times better than that. Now, would I have liked to maybe seen, I don't know, some monstrous races, or maybe like a Scion or something? Maybe. Definitely on the monstrous races side, but in terms of class, I think Warlock is a fun and choice that is different, and I like that too.
Chai?
I'm not necessarily sure that the game needs Warlock, but as far as what other class could they have picked that would have piqued my interest as much as Warlock? I can't really think of one off the top of my head that was more of a core class that isn't already like in the game in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to say that they don't need to be in the game, but I think that they definitely should be in the game. And there's only really two other things that I could think of that maybe, I would have said, let's do this before Warlock. Some of them would be, Artificer should get its third PRE, Druid should get third PRE and all those animal issues fixed. Favorite Soul should get its third PRE. But
And
They
some
want-
SLAs on the favored soul, for God's sake.
Yeah, like Cleric has. I mean, that'd be pretty nice as well. But when it comes to like trying to think of another class that would have been as cool as Warlock, that's core. I mean, I know you could probably dip into some splat books and pull something out of there that might be cool, but like the core stuff, I can't think of one. So Warlock is definitely the way to go if they're going to add a class.
Mythery?
Well, I think need is a strong word, but I'm going to go with yes. We need warlocks, and no, they should not pick a different class. And all the casters are better. If they put witches in here, I'll play those too.
Isn't a witch more or less just a female warlock? Isn't that how the terminology generally goes? So. Soft Eye in the chats mentioned that Fiend Pack with good alignment, you are using the power of demons and devils against themselves. Fight fire with fire. it's a way that it could go, for sure. So, all right, now we're going to get into maybe some more interesting topics. I wanted to make sure that we talked about warlocks because it's kind of a new thing, and there's some things you could debate about it. But I think generally this kind of sums up a lot of what I've been seeing on the forums, as people are mostly excited about Warlock, and now that we're kind of getting some details, people are interested in seeing what's coming. But we're going to move on to some other questions, and as we cruise through those questions, I might add some more questions in here, guys, so be on your toes. This will be exciting. Our first question, though, should hirelings be allowed in raids? And let's see, who did I leave off on to start with? I think we're on Chai first. Chai, should hirelings be allowed in raids?
I'm not even sure they should be allowed in quests at this point. I mean, I watched them just stand around. One guy will swing his axe twice and then just kind of sit there for 5 or 6 seconds and then swing his axe twice again.
Okay, that's a fair point, but let's assume that they actually worked decently well, or as well as they ever have. Should hirelings be allowed in raids under those circumstances?
I'm still going to say no. I don't know if it's reliable enough to tell somebody, well, I'm going to heal the main tank, and I'm going to have old Hireling McGee here heal the rest of the party, and I'm just going to stand him right here. And, to me, even if they were superb at healing parties, it would kind of detract away from having people build that into their characters and take care of themselves. So yeah, I'm not so sure that they would need to be in raids. It's already hard enough to get a raid group, and even if they were awesome, people would just use those and then not want to group. And do we really need any more reasons to not group in this game, or do we need more reasons to group in this game? So I'm going to go with no.
Okay, Mythery?
I agree. No. I'm not going to say that there haven't been some few times when I wanted to go try to solo something, a raid. And I would have liked to have had a hireling with me at some point, but I don't think they should be in raids. No.
Okay, Voodoo?
I know that they're both saying no, but I'm going to have to say hell no. Okay? Hell no. Listen to me, people. Everybody out there in DDO land, okay? Get rid of the hirelings. They're making you a lazy player. You will become a better player if you learn to play without them, and we definitely don't need them in raids.
What would you say to the people, though, that are saying, I want to raid, but I don't want to wait 20 minutes for X in my party?
Wah.
Raids no longer need X in your party.
Do it on a lower difficulty.
Okay.
There was a time when you absolutely had to have 2 healers to run the Shroud, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Those days are long gone. You can run just about anything on normal right now without having dedicated, this role X, if you want to call it that. You can just go in there with a well-rounded character and do it without having to have complacency healing or that expectation.
Now that you bring that up, though, it kind of makes me sad because I used to really enjoy playing my clerics, and I don't play them anymore. I don't need them. They don't want them.
You can still play that way. It's just not necessary.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I still like having certain roles. I mean, there are definitely some quests, like, we did Vision of Destruction as a teaching raid tonight, and you don't need anything special in there anymore. Everybody could just beat on all the mobs, no big deal. But there, Fall of Truth, it's nice to have some tanks, Mark of Death, it's nice to have some crowd controllers, or, Fall of Truth, or excuse me, Fire and Thunder Peak, it's nice to have some, like, legitimate tanks in there. Raids are supposed to be something special in the game, I think, and they're supposed to be different than just quests. And they have better gear as a reward, and I really think that all of that should represent more of an effort to get things together, to get the right classes, and to complete.
I think something I would say too to those folks is, expand your horizons, like challenge yourself in a little different way. I've talked about it on the show before, but back when Tower of Despair was the end game, and you kind of more needed some healing. You didn't have Epic Destiny, so there was a little bit more of a trick with that. We started, we couldn't find a healers. We started, first we kind of started with bards as our primary healer, and that led to me being the primary healer on my artificer, and we kind of figured out how we could stretch what we could do. We did around the same time we did a Vision of Destruction raid where we had no divines in our party. We had a bard healing and a sorcerer healing my Warforged tank, and that's how we did the raid. We're doing, it made those runs a little more exciting and fun. I know, like Lord of Blades, when it first came out, we started doing runs without a real tank. We'd take turns and try and figure out different ways and different tactics to overcome the fact that we didn't have that really specific thing in our party. So there's definitely ways around that. There were even before now, but at the same time, there is some concern. Sometimes I still don't get a raid together. I try and put it up in LFM. We don't get enough people to really make a raid happen. So there's that too. Thanks to Scott on Orion for that question as well. Our next question, actually before we do that, Soft Eyes in the chat says that he stopped using hirelings in his solo play. He finds he's more careful of traps and he plays smarter in general. Learned how to pull instead of just charging in and trusting his hireling to cure him through the damage. So it can make you a better player for sure if you challenge yourself without the hirelings. Having said that, hirelings can be useful sometimes, and if you just want a little bit more of an easy button. But our next question, this comes from Annabelina on Kyber. Should you stay with a slow, inactive, higher-level guild, or join a more active, lower-level guild? And we'll start with Mythery.
Well, I would say that depends on why you join the guild. It sounds like this person might only be in a higher level guild because they got all the good buffs on their ship. That's the only thing I can think of. I think you should be in the guild where you have the most fun and you like the people you're playing with. I don't think it has to do with higher and lower levels.
Voodoo?
Well, Annabelina on Kyber, why are you presenting us with false dichotomies? Why are the only two choices that we have is to be in a slow and active high-level guild or a more active lower-level guild? These aren't the only two choices. But I'm going to go with what Mythery said. It depends what you want out of the game. It depends on your play style. Are you a soloer? If you just like to solo everything and you don't like to group with people, then just stay in the higher-level guild. But if you want to if you want to raid more, then you need to find yourself a crew to raid with. Or if you want people to quest with, and you're not finding anybody, you're not finding that in the guild you're in, then I think that you should definitely go for the guild that has the kind of community that you want, and that should be an overriding factor than what ship buffs do they have.
Chai?
I'm going to say it's going to depend a lot on why you're in that lesser active, higher level guild in the first place. Like if those are your friends, those are the people that you enjoy hanging out with and socializing with and stuff like that. Maybe they're trying out some new things, or maybe they're getting bogged down with real life or whatever. You hang around, and if they only log on once a week, oh well, I can always group with whoever I want to group with. But if it was just like, come one, come all, and then nobody plays anymore, and you have some people that you like and that in that lower level guild, and they're trying to get that thing going, then maybe you split and go to the lower level guild where all your friends are. So that's probably going to influence how you make that decision. So I guess there's not really a clear cut and dry yes or no answer here.
Anybody have any other thoughts or counterpoints to any of
that? Choosing to leave a guild is a tough choice. If it sounds, I'm guessing that that person has some friends in that guild, and it's a hard choice to leave. And it's not an easy one to finally make. And but just generally speaking, anybody that's leaving a guild, make sure you do it the right way. Don't leave on bad terms. Don't just leave and not say anything. Make sure you tell the people, or at least the leader, hey, I've been grouping with these other people, and I really like this other guild. I want to give it a try. I got nothing against this guild. So make sure you leave the right way. Just like in a real-world relationship, You don't break up with somebody over text. You do it the right way. Unless you're wanting to burn the bridge. If you want to go scorched earth, that's fine. But if you want to maintain a relationship with the guild and not have bad blood, then do it the right way.
I think it's important to note that and we talked about this when we were talking about our leading guilds and stuff with Voodoo and Bonnie, and people leave guilds, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing that you leave a guild. So don't feel like it's the end of the world. For some people, it's a big deal, and it shouldn't be. But that's how it works. So, but don't be too scared of that. All right, I'm gonna pop a new question on these guys. So be forewarned, they haven't any prep time on this, but I want solid ideas here, and really sell me on why your idea is better than the other people's here. What do we want to see?
Pit us against each other.
Yeah, what do we want to see for a third Druid enhancement tree?
Oh God!
And we'll start with Voodoo.
I knew you were going to say, you're probably thinking, all the people that answer this one first, it should be Voodoo because he loves his Druid.
I think it was your turn.
Yeah, I know. So I saw this question floating around the forums, and it's been floating around for a while. And, I've seen some people say, like, we should have more summoning stuff in there. I'm sorry, I don't have anything substantial here. I really, really love the way my Druid is functioning right now. If there are more options, that's going to be great to pull from. Yeah, I know it's surprising from the person that loves Druids, but maybe I would like to see. Okay, here's where I'm going to go. I would like to see stronger summons. I would like to see a stronger wolf, because I think it's lots of fun to play with a summon. I think it's lots of fun to play with the wolf, but they they ramp up so horribly. By the time you get into like teen levels, you can't have your wolf out half the time, and you get that huge penalty when it dies. Your summons aren't worth a crap. And then when you get to epic levels, forget it. Epic elites, they're not staying alive.
Just to be clear, are you talking about the wolf companion or summon monsters or both?
Both, absolutely both. But the wolf is the biggest because, like I said, it's always been so much fun to have that wolf out, and I'd love for there to be a way to make that wolf really, really strong. It doesn't need to annihilate everything, but I want it to be able to stay alive, be able to do significant DPS. They could help out on epic elites. So I'm going to go with the summoner because it'll be fun.
Okay. Chai, what do you like for a third enhancement tree?
I'm going to go with something that heals and mitigates damage. Right now you have your DPS tree, you have your universal spell power SLA spammer tree, so having like a healer almost like not quite Radiant Servant, but something that has maybe even more heal over time spells that stack up, so you can pay your healing forward or pay your tanks healing forward, and then just let them run amok and do what they're supposed to do, rather than having to be more reactionary recovery, because that's how I've always liked to play in any MMO. And if there was a healing tree, you could kind of, instead of having to always spec into high PRR or like high dodge or whatever, and thinking about that as survivability, you can drop a bunch of hots on yourself and then go to town. It would also be good for raids if you're still trying to do the roll thing. If you need a healer, you could build it'd be a different take on a healer rather than just having the completely reactionary spam cures and throw heal scrolls like clerics and favored souls do.
Wait, are we still debating here? Are we still encouraging interruptions? Because I gotta say, no way.
There's supposed to be an opening argument here, so hold your thoughts.
I mean,
we'll go to Mythery. I want to get Mythery's opening argument first, and then we'll go to town.
Oh no! I told you I'm not good at arguments, and I am just getting to know my druid. We have the wolf pack, and I think both these guys are making great points. Go ahead.
Okay, Voodoo, go ahead.
My blood's boiling over here. Well, it's not really boiling, but I'm all jazzed up here. Okay? This is coming from somebody who loves to play healers. I've got a bard healer, druid healer, I got favorite soul. I've played everything. I love all things healing. But for druid third tree healer, no way. Okay, druids, I'm putting this out there right now. Best healing class in the game. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Better than cleric. The healing over time spells, totally awesome.
That's why you should have the ability to enhance them even more.
So we want to make it even, so we were going to take the strongest healer in the game and say, oh, we need an option to make it even stronger. I mean, you already got half the game saying, oh, nobody needs heals anymore. Nobody needs healers anymore.
I think it's different, but it's not the strongest. I mean, a cleric can heal you 1 hit point to max hit points super quickly. Where a druid, it's like you pay your healing forward, and then you rush into battle, and you get smacked, and you get some of your hit points back. And then you get smacked, and then another hot gives you more hit points back. The thing I have against summons is Turbine has yet to make the AI in this game reliable enough to make summons cool. The minute they make summons cool, then the Artificer people are going to be like, now you need to make my dog cool. You need to make my level 9 summons cool for my wizards and my sorcerers. Or it'll be like overpowered, to the point where it practically tanks for you, and it makes it so that you never have to take any damage. But I have yet to see the AI be good enough for summons to not just stand there and take hits. I mean, imagine something that did a lot of DPS, but it has hireling AI, for lack of a better way to describe it. Like, oh, I have 25 hit points left, but I'm not going to heal myself.
He's got a good point. The AI is definitely a problem, and I'm going to give him, too, that Cleric has definitely got some really, really strong individual abilities. And if we're going to break it down ability by ability, you might be able to point to a couple of Cleric abilities and go, this is the single best. But I'm going to say overall as a class, Druids are better healers.
See, I like heal over time more than reactionary healing, and the Cleric is the best at reactionary healing. It's almost like playing whack-a-mole with red bars. It's, you took a lot of damage, here's your heal spell. Where Druid is like, I'm going to pay all that forward, and then I'm going to tank this huge, heavy-hitting mob.
So just
it almost acts like mitigation.
Just for Kickshare, since Mythery didn't really throw it on here, I'm gonna kind of chime in and throw a third option out here. Is and I'm thinking about like how the other trees have really kind of come about, and how they've kind of gone through and polished up trees and kind of added things that weren't there. I want to see something in Druids that really helps with the bear form. Everyone runs in wolf form. Nobody runs in bear form. And I think that this could probably be something along the lines of what Chai was saying with a PRR tree or some kind of healing PRR tree, but make bear form actually meaningful and viable as opposed to everyone always running in wolf form. And it could potentially be something as simple as kind of adapting the defender lines into more of a a bear form line, as it were. And now you guys can chew my idea up.
I got a question for you on that, actually.
Sure.
So right now, Barbarian is probably the highest DPS in the game. Paladin is a close second. How much of percentage-wise of that should a bear form be able to do while it has the healing abilities and still can cast all of its spells?
I would say probably somewhere below those ones, or definitely probably below Barbarian. I would like to see maybe if I really got to go at it and really design what it looked like. I would like to see a bear form do more damage per hit, but not be able to attack necessarily as fast. If I could really get a perfect vibe of how I would like to see it. That's kind of a personal way of thinking about it. But I know Voodoo plays a Druid tank, but I believe it's more of a caster, healer type of tank. I'd like to see bears tanking things, for crying out loud, on a Druid.
I'd love to see that too, but tanks are not popular in this game. Tanks are not popular in this game anymore. Not very many people want to play them.
I don't know. Everyone's playing the Paladin these days with a tank, with a shield, but.
The reason I asked is because that is the biggest gripe about bear form is the rate of attack is small. Wolf form rate of attack is much quicker, and it also the animation is kind of weird where you're not always in range, but you might think you are because of the size of the bear's body. He stands up and he starts swinging, and then he sits back down, and then he stands up again. I think that it would be tricky because you need to do enough damage to keep aggro. So if you're not doing tons and tons of damage, then part of that would have to be expanded threat as well. Like there would have to be enhancements that say, okay, almost like Defender, where it's like you do 100% more threat. Or,
I think there's actually a couple of places where they get things that increase their threat, if I remember correctly. But I mean, the biggest thing for me, and I think that a Druid tree might be a great place to put this. And maybe that even involves splitting up Nature's Warrior a little bit into this tree and backfilling in Nature's Warrior. But I'd like to see. I look at the Druid class, and the one thing that you don't ever see anyone running is bears. You never see somebody running a bear unless they're just messing around, right? So I think it would be a lot more interesting if Druids had an enhancer tree that made bears or helped make bears more viable. And I think there's a lot of value in saying that bears should be a little more hardier than a wolf. Maybe they're not. I don't think they need to be necessarily be better at DPS than a wolf, but holding aggro. If you can put modifiers in for holding aggro and stuff, but they should still be able to do some damage for sure, and they should be able to hold aggro. But I would like to see bears have a role, much like we now see Sword and Board having a viable role in the game as well.
There are two other trees that I want to mention. I think they should get honorable mention here, even though none of us are picking it and defending it. But I saw a lot of people mentioning Defiler, which is kind of the unholy druid, if you will, the druid that kills the nature around it to channel it in sort of a negative way. That could be an interesting choice. I'm not saying that's where I want to go. And then the other one would be like a Master of Forms, or there was a Shapeshifter kit back in 2E. I don't know about 3E after that, but just maybe a druid that had some more forms to play with, some other elemental forms or some other animal forms, and that could be combined with something that focused on summons too. So there could be a lot of fun options there.
It could even the Defiler thing. I don't know that it really has a place in DDO because I feel like you kind of need an evil druid for that. That's a personal take on it. The other one that you mentioned, I think you could have a tree that kind of mess with the forms a little bit more, and it could pull in like the bear idea. Maybe even maybe if you're in fire form, it makes your healing better. If you're in water form, it makes damage better. Or you could maybe boost up the different forms. Certainly an option. Mythery, do you have anything that you want to throw in here before we move on to the next question?
Great points, guys. That's it.
Woo!
Fair enough.
Yay!
All right, our next question, and we'll talk about a little more about this from a news standpoint, but Turbine announced that they're shutting down Infinite Crisis, I believe in August, end of August, something like that. So the question is, are we concerned that Infinite Crisis is shutting down so quickly? It went live earlier this year. It had about a year-long beta. I think it went live earlier this year. It was not up very long, and they're announcing they're shutting it down. So we're going to start with Chai on this one. Are we concerned that Infinite Crisis is shutting down so quick?
As players, I would say no. If you work for Turbine, I would say yes.
Good answer.
But the reason why I say no is, you remember like MMOs back after 2004, after World of Warcraft came out, and everybody and their mother's uncle were trying to clone that game, and there's probably 1,000 games out now that play almost exactly like World of Warcraft. MOBA type games, the battle arena type games, are that thing of this decade. Because there's two larger titles that actually made it and have a lot of players. Everybody's trying to do the MOBA clone now, where they're trying to get some type of superhero comic licensed and then just do a battle arena. And I think Turbine jumped on that late. They went with DC. Not necessarily a bad license, but Marvel usually generates more popularity as far as games are concerned. Batman being the one major exception.
It seems like when you're talking about DC these days, as a sidebar, it seems like you're talking about DC versus Marvel these days. It's like Marvel's better, Batman's kind of the exception.
Well, it isn't necessarily better. That's completely subjective. But the objective part is that Marvel sells more games across its entire superhero lineup, where DC has the Batman, which is killing it, but then every other game that they try to make, for the most part, is like fairly average as far as their sales are concerned if they're trying to do other superheroes from the DC universe. That might have impacted it, but I think just being late to the game was probably the worst impact. And people, in order to get people to play a clone game, you have to get them off the major titles first. And that's a very hard thing to do at this point. Maybe a few years from now, they could have, pulled that if kind of pay attention to the big two, wait until a lot of those guys start leaving, and then put up their MOBA. But at this point, yeah, it was kind of weird. I didn't necessarily think it would do well, but I thought it would do better than it did. To see it close down as quickly is like, wow. Not even a year in the wild.
Mythery?
But I'm not concerned as a player.
Nope.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to pass the baton off to Mythery and kind of move along here. So Mythery, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, here's the thing. Considering that it was just last week that I found out there was something called Infinite Crisis.
Same boat.
And that everybody I've talked to since then went, no, what's that? I'm not concerned, and I am not surprised. I mean, shoot, they could have sent me an email,
Voodoo?
The answer is no. Next question. Okay, now I'm just going to say I'm not a comic book person. Okay, DC versus Marvel, I don't even know. Maybe DC is stigmatized because of Super Friends in the 80s. The Wonder Twins killed them. I don't know. Aquaman killed it.
Why do I always got to be the bucket of water?
I don't know. But here's the thing. I didn't know anything about this game. I read a little bit about it. Thank you, Gamer Jeff, by the way. Give him a little plug. He did that overview of it. I read that. It was great. But when I read that there are these games out there that are just like these massive player versus player, I'm like, really? People are doing this? There's no content for me to run. I'm just going to kill other players? Is that really what these games are, and these are popular?
Yep, the battle arena.
So they don't have any quests or anything to do? It's just...
It's like MMO, massive multiplayer online. MOBA's multiplayer online battle arena, and that's what it is. You
Yeah.
try to build something that can withstand more damage and kill everybody else.
Not interested. Don't care.
There's two big titles, and everybody else that's trying to clone those right now are, I don't want to say failing miserably, but they're not doing so hot.
It's tough. You mentioned. I like what you mentioned, that you got to either pull. You kind of got to pull players away from that, or the other option, which you didn't mention, is introduce new people into that genre of games through your game because they're interested in whatever shtick you got going on, which is admittedly a tough thing. What would you guys say to the idea that, well, this was Turbine's new game, they spent a lot of money and time developing this game, and it just fell flat on its face? Are we concerned that Turbine's going to shut down? What does that mean for DDO if they do?
No. I'm not concerned that they're going to shut down. The people that I am concerned for is the employees that worked on the game, because that's their livelihood. That's their bread and butter. Folks may get laid off because of that. If I'm concerned for anybody, it's those people. As far as players of this game and players of Lord of the Rings Online, I'm not really concerned about that because we have our niche audiences. So as long as that continues to be profitable, I don't think that they're necessarily just going to wipe us off the map because of that, or close the company or anything crazy. But yeah, all of those people that developed that game, the people from DDO that got sent over to that game, the people from Lord of the Rings and Turbine's previous games that got sent over to that game, like, what's going to happen to those folks now? That's probably my, where I would say I'm somewhat concerned. But hopefully those people can continue to be gainfully employed.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I don't think Turbine's going anywhere. There might be some shakeups in upper management or something like that. The fault for this might the hammer might come down on a few people, but maybe it'll shake things up, and maybe as a result of that shakeup, some new bodies will come along and decide that DDO needs some more love.
Yeah, I think my personal take on it is that Turbine has other games in development. I don't remember exactly what there was, like a Batman Arkham mobile game I think they were doing, and something related to Game of Thrones, I think. So I think Turbine will be. I think it'll hurt Turbine, and I don't think it's going to be on par with like Atari with the ET game, which there's a documentary on Netflix, so you want to kind of have more of an idea of that. But it pretty much killed the game platform, the company. The game bombed so badly. I don't think that's going to happen, and even if it did, worst case scenario, I figure some game company somewhere is going to pick up DDO, and at least just kind of, it would probably might mean that it kind of goes into maintenance mode and kind of starts downplaying, but they'd probably pick it up just to take what it's already generating. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't think that's going to happen at all, but I think Chai makes a really good point. There's people that are probably going to lose jobs as Turbine cuts positions to account for the fact that they're not doing Infinite Crisis, unless they have something they're going to put it in its place. But all right, our last question, a little bit of a fun one coming out of a more serious one. The question is, what group of movie or TV characters would you want to watch play Dungeons and Dragons? The pen and paper version, just so we're clear on that. And we're going to start with Mythery.
Me? Okay. Well, I actually gave this some thought, and I didn't actually pick characters. I just sort of picked actors that I thought would be interesting or funny to watch. So the first thing I did was pick for the DM position James Earl Jones. I mean, that's sort of a given, right? And then I thought Jack Nicholson would make a great cleric, and Sean Hayes for a fighter. Judge Judy will be the rogue, and Neil Patrick Harris has to play. He can play whatever he wants. I just think he's cool. And if we need a paladin, maybe Charlie Sheen. Holly. Okay, so that's my picks.
Does anyone else notice?
You want the truth
characters
about how injured you are? You can't handle the truth.
Anyone else notice how the actors that she picked are playing characters that like stereotypically are kind of against iconic characters those actors have played? Voodoo, what do you got for us?
My question is, how colorful can the language be here on DDOcast? Well, I guess you can bleep it out, because it's the one that says bad motherfucker, okay? We're talking about the cast of Pulp Fiction at the D&D table. Come on now. Does this kobold look like a bitch? That's what I want to see.
That's an interesting choice.
Oh, God.
No!
Say what again?
Say what
Say
again?
what
I
again?
double dare you. Did they speak Infernal on what?
All right, Chai, what about your pick?
Oh, damn. I'm going to go with the cast of heroes. And I would like to see them try to duplicate all the powers that their character had on the Heroes show.
Okay, that's interesting.
So, like, the Japanese guy would be like, I want to be able to stop time. I want to be able to teleport to different locations. There was the one guy that could do a lot more, and then, of course, you had Sylar, who could, like, steal other people's powers. So he might be, like, the soul eater. The guy that
you're
just,
talking
like,
about
rips
them
people apart.
replicating their abilities through legal in-game means, not just creating new rules for them.
Yes.
Okay, just
Trying to get
clear.
as close as possible to that.
Okay. Now, why is your group better than the other group? Why would it be more fun to watch them?
I think my group, because they have doing, just like when they found their powers, they had no idea how to control them and stuff like that. When they'd be playing Dungeons and Dragons, they would be constantly pestering the DM about, well, I want to teleport, man. I want to be able to teleport. I want to be able to stop time, dude. Come on, make me stop time. And I have to have a samurai sword. You got to throw that in there. And the DM would be like, oh, my God. So which one of those do you want first? Because this is a progression. No, I want it now. And it would be freaking hilarious.
Thank you for putting I cast magic missile in the darkness in my head now.
I want to be the cheerleader that can get smacked around and never die. I just regenerate faster than you can hurt me.
All right.
Say cheerleader again, I dare you.
Voodoo or Mythery, why is yours the best one here?
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because of the symbolism and the mystery that's going to surround this whole crew. The camera's going to pan around to the backside of the DM. You're like, what's that Band-Aid doing on the back of his neck? When they get to the treasure chest, you're only going to see it from the back, and it's going to be glowing when they open it. You're going to be like, what's in the treasure chest? Why was the combination 666? Is all that stuff.
Mine's the
Same
best
combination on
because
my luggage.
my group is the least likely group of people to be in the same room together, much less playing D&D. You just see Judge Judy, conversate is not a word. Now get the hell out of my way and let me do this trap.
Oh, God.
It's a little scary, actually. My only question here for Voodoo is, one, do we get to see them play in a straight timeline, or does it jump around?
Oh, of course it's going to jump around. I mean, seriously, no. You're not. We're going to see the ending first, and then we're going to wonder how the hell they got there.
The other thing that concerns me about Pulp Fiction is I feel like characters will get bogged down in soliloquies and monologues.
Oh,
Role playing. Okay, and Mask. What's his name? What's the dope dealer's name? I can't remember his real life name. He's got to play the rogue.
The wolf, you mean?
No, not the wolf. He played in Mask. He was Masked. Oh God, Eric Stoltz. Is that his name? Eric Stoltz.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Eric Stoltz. He's got to be the rogue, of course.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. There's a fun little.
No, wait.
What? Oh.
What's your answer?
What's my answer? I was actually thinking the cast of Star Trek could be kind of fun. Particularly Worf. I could see him just playing a barbarian, and while everyone else is strategizing, and Worf's just like, I go and I cut his head off. Stuff like that.
That's a meme already.
You get data, like trying to analyze probabilities and stuff like that. I think that could be kind of a fun little group of casts. I also thought the Avengers might be kind of a fun one too, just from the standpoint of they don't exactly work well together. Like on their best day, they're a really effective team. On their average day, they're kind of getting in each other's way and fighting a lot. So, but that could be an interesting dynamic to bring to a Dungeons & Dragons table. But there you go. If you have a group that you would like to see play D&D, let us know in the comments. We'll see if anyone's got some great fun ideas as well. We might read them on the show notes. For now, we're going to get into game news. I know for some of these guys it's getting kind of late, so we'll kind of cruise through what little we have, but want to make sure we get to the game news. If you guys need to go to sleep, please feel free to bail out here. But if not, feel
I'm
free
here
to
for the long haul, Patrick.
stick around, leave some comments, or give us your comments on this, and it'll be great. So there's some store news coming. On June 4th, the store provider, hey, this already happened, they will be halting support and integration of payment methods. As previously mentioned, they are currently working on a redesign of the in-game stores, which will help replace these payment methods soon. Credit card and PayPal are still available, or you can still visit the store.do.com to purchase points. Some options there. So some Lemania stuff. These are various comments of the devs. The first one I'm going to mention is kind of in general. Vergil, I think it was Vergil, announced that since he was in the right place for other reasons and it was relatively easy for him to do, he added Dismiss Charm to every single class. Yes, barbarians can now dismiss Charm. I'm not sure if they can dismiss other people's Charm. I'm assuming so, otherwise it would be a fairly useless ability. So, just in case we need it, everyone will have Dismiss Charm now. Although this raises interesting questions like, can barbarians use it while raging?
Well, there's just epic destiny abilities that maybe a class takes that doesn't normally do that, but they try it out and yeah, the mob failed to save.
You can also see some griefing here.
To die, so the chest will open. Why is it still standing there for 6 minutes?
Some good reasons for that. Some Warlock news. It will be free to VIPs. Metamatics aren't intended to work with basic Eldritch Blast, but relevant metamatics should work with most of the activated enhancements that are actually spells. So Quicken should work with the enhancement version of Confusion, Eldritch Blast, or Eldritch Burst, Command, Eldritch Ball, etc. So some metamatics will work, but mostly it will be for the activated abilities, as it were. They'll probably look into how charms work in Epic, Hard, and Elite, but it's not clear what, if anything, will happen with that for Update 26. Note that only Hard and Elite on Epic have special tricks that apply to charms, not crowd control in general. Bosses have their usual wards, but that's not particular to those difficulties. They'll be looking into making sure Eldritch Blast smash open breakables and consider the possibility of smashing doors. They may look into not requiring spell components, warlocks, but there are some technical issues that might make that somewhat complex. They might decide to just use a single component for all spells as well. They are aware that you currently have to manually drag in class feat options during level ups, even though there's only one choice. It's something they'd like to fix generally. It also applies to other classes, but they may not be able to get this in time for Update 26. There also may be some individual cases where they can smooth it out, but it's a time thing, so they might not get up there. Regarding anti-magic fields and Eldritch Blasts, the tentative, strong answer is no, anti-magic fields will not stop Eldritch Blasts. It might make some more sense, but it would be really double on fun as a player. Although he did mention that maybe Beholders will get an MMR bump in theory. Since damage is dynamic for most of the Eldritch Blasts, most won't trigger most damage-specific abilities. And what he means here is not just abilities in general, but if, say, the damage, it's every time you cast a healing spell, or every time you cast a negative energy spell, or stuff where anytime you cast such and such spell, such as the type of spell, you have to cast the correct Eldritch Blast type of spell if you want those to go off. Cooldown changes are most likely not going to affect Eldritch Blast's rate of fire. Yes, that is a reversal. So this is referring to things like Tensor's Transformation, or I believe Defensive Fighting also increases your cooldown timers. And I'm hoping that also means that the Confusion Dragon in Fall of Truth will not do that either. Magister's Evocation Augmentation should be functioning with Eldritch Blast. If it's not, please submit a bug. If you guys have any comments on any of this stuff, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'm just going to cruise through some of the lists here. Enlightened Spirit, they're planning on reducing the spell point cost of the Resist Energy special ability significantly compared to what it is on Lamania, which should allow you to apply all 5 forms of Resist Energy to your party at a lower spell point cost and a much lower buffing time than the standard spell. They may consider having the timing of the Blast Aura get shorter, but they're not likely to make it just a flat 2 seconds. It would be exceptionally overpowered at low heroic levels, and they don't want to nerf the low-level damage in response. So they want it to be more of a time thing, especially since the aura is practically free. I think it's just 1 action point, right? Like, it's the first action point you can spend, if I remember correctly. Tainted Scholar is tentatively going to gain +1 spell penetration in each of the 3 lower cores. And that is all for Warlock news. I know a couple of you guys mentioned, I know Chai mentioned that he was on a Warlock. Voodoo, it sounded like you got a little bit of playtime. Just generally in 10 seconds, what's your kind of, what are your kind of thoughts on where it is right now?
Really, very, very cursory, just sort of first thoughts is I was turned off by the attack animation of the Warlock. It was just, I feel like it needs to be more fluid and ways to make it faster. It just kind of looked, I don't know. I was turned off by it. Maybe that's just superficial, but I think it could look cooler than that. And but I'm still looking forward to it.
Chai, did you have any quick thoughts?
For those of you who've played ranged characters, you know how when you say click on your repeater and then you want to throw yourself a quick heal or repair and you can't do it because your repeater goes off one more time before you can get into that? The same kind of happens for the Eldritch Blast animation, where it's like you take your hand off the button and it takes like a second for it to actually stop, and when you're clicking on your heal spell or whatever else you wanted to cast, it doesn't cast for a while. It almost like queues up the ability. That might create for some timing issues.
I actually found that to be somewhat problematic when I was doing Makar's challenge against the Demon Queen, actually. So some interesting information on evasion. I'm not exactly sure how he was able to figure this out. I think this was from Bargwill. So that approximately 12% of all monsters in DDO have evasion. If you're seeing evade more than that, particularly like more than 90%, which was someone was reporting, there's some kind of bug going on. They are concerned that evade might show up in instances where monsters aren't actually triggering evasion per se. I know I've noticed this with Frostlance a lot. It's kind of been my personal experience with it, but.
There's a funny bug happening right now. I don't know if you guys seen it. I just started noticing it a few days ago. Mobs are walking off edges. Mobs that shouldn't be. Elminster and Beyond the Rift, walking right off the strand. I saw Beholders fall into the pits in Rainbow in the Dark. Today when we were doing our teaching raids, the ice flensers that you have to kill to unlock the door just walked off the edge. We had to jump down in the subterranean and go kill them so that we could unlock the door. I've never seen this before.
Was trying to run challenges where you have to lead the kobolds, and the kobolds with their little purple gems look like they're running a line and they're falling right down the stairwells.
Ooh.
So I've definitely seen that.
That's problematic.
Something changed in the last few days.
Well,
probably a pathing bug.
Yeah. Let's see. Magic damage epics. So this was kind of a recent post today. They're thinking about some possible changes for casting and epic levels. This could potentially come as soon as update 26, though that's not certain. In short, they think caster damage should scale better during epic levels. For the scope of this change, they're focusing on damage. They're aware that DC and saves are always a tricky issue we need to keep the eye on. Probably can't make strong changes regarding that in the near term, whereas we might have some things that we're comfortable doing relative to damage. That's the thread for the day. So this is what they're looking at doing. First, each epic level now provides +1 caster level for all spells. Epic destinies no longer provide bonuses to caster levels, however they may revisit some of those destinies in the future. So those two changes increase some endgame casting abilities and free players to play in their preferred destiny rather than being locked into a certain sphere.
That is amazing.
It's good with one caveat.
First time I've heard of this. That is incredible.
They just posted
it is
today.
good, but with one caveat. And the caveat is your level 20 caster will probably be weaker because they're not getting it from the Epic Destiny cores, they're getting it from levels.
Right.
That's fine.
However, what that makes you be able to do is you can switch destinies when you're higher level, and like if you're playing in an off destiny, you're still going to get a lot more damage because it's tethered to your levels now. So if you're like a sorcerer trying to do all the divine stuff, for instance, you'll still have your major damage.
Yeah, he wrote that it does potentially reduce the power of a caster who is in an active, or currently active or an appropriate sphere, or has finished the active destiny and is below level 25.
Yeah.
But it's also something that this is something that's been brought up by players in the past. So I think it'll be a good change. The other thing is they're proposing 2 new epic feats. They do the same thing. One is basically the second version, so you have to take the one before you take the other. They add plus 20% critical damage with spells, which is a pretty big margin compared to what you can normally get. It does require level 21 to use, to take, obviously it's an epic feat. It also requires the ability to cast spells, but he does specifically say Wizard 1 or Paladin 4, so you can take it even if you have a very low number of spells. So that certainly sounds good. It probably is going to be able to rethink some of my feat choices, but I think generally it's a good choice. Although I can say for my sorcerer, I think he's taking the mental toughness line at those levels just for the, 2% boost to spell critical damage, so 20 sounds a lot better.
Well, that's spell critical chance on the mental toughness line. This is spell critical damage. So
yes, that's true.
Apples and oranges.
Well, yes and no. I'm pretty sure the 20% critical damage will be significantly more damage than a 1% more more likelihood of having critical damage. But
there's going to be some formula to figure out how both of these translate into DPS.
Both are better. There you go. There's the formula. Surely it's going to be more feat choices, but Mythery, what do you're kind of a pretty heavy caster. What do you think about these?
I think they sound great. I would take them. I don't the epic level feats are just okay. They're not exciting to me. This sounds great.
I would say casters don't really have great feats unless you're kind of more of a DC caster. Because it's just epic. Epic spell focus and epic mental toughness, right? Those are kind of
That's so boring.
And
so boring.
Spell pen you could get.
Yeah.
Or point to your charisma. So yeah, not exciting. But this sounds.
I think the thing that really jumps out at me is this means you can have better caster level, right? Because before you would get maybe 6 out of a tree at most, 1 for each of the cores. Now you can get up to 8,
right.
up to 10 if we go up to level 30. But the flip side of that is not several spells have a maximum caster level on them, which will be affected by this.
Yes.
I don't know necessarily how widespread that is, but it's there. It's something to be aware of.
Part of that means you're going to be able to multi-class and still get to your cap of whatever those spells are.
That's true,
So
because
you
if you're just
your multi-class.
excuse me, yeah, if you're just it's an epic level because epic levels are generic. So a barbarian, for example, a 20th level barbarian, for example, is going to have +8 to all caster levels, which means all of his destiny abilities are going to be slightly more effective. It's a caster level for all spells too, so it's not just your field of spells. It's whatever. If you're using an epic destiny that's not in your quote sphere, those spells are going to be more effective because they're going to be higher level. And also, clerics have an ability one of the trees in one of the things in Radiant Servant removes the max caster level for cure spells too.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. That'll be huge.
Let's see. Bonus days for the week. Double
Before
mystery.
we go,
go for it.
I wanted to bring up a gripe about Warlock before we go any further, because I didn't bring this up earlier, and that is I don't like that I have to select the stance and I have to tie my shoe animation to go into that. So, like, if I want to be able to seamlessly shoot my Eldritch Blast and swing a weapon and be able to go back and forth without having to go through that big stance change, that seems a little ridiculous. I'm not sure if there's a meaningful reason for this.
Well, I would think most of the Eldritch Blast stance, you can fire it fast enough that you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see a lot of situations where you would want to be doing that, other than if you had the aura on, which is kind of the intent. But
well, if you have the aura on, then you are swinging weapons. But if you have Eldritch Blast, you're in sort of that stance. But you can't then use your weapon and shield, for example. It's a pain in the butt to switch back and forth between Eldritch Blasting mode and using your weapons.
It's a fair
point. That was kind of the point for that PRE was you're either doing your at-will spell damage or you're swinging a weapon, but you're not doing combinations of both.
Yeah, whether or not you agree with it, I think the devs certainly have the design intent that you're not really switching between the two very much. But it is a noted gripe, and it would certainly be annoying if you're doing it a lot. So with that, we'll cruise to some of the other stuff here. Bonus days, Double Mysterious Remnants through June 7th. That's tomorrow. See, sales for the week through June 11th. You can get 20% off of stat tomes, including +6 tomes. 20% off of skill tomes, Tomes of Learning, Tomes of Fate, and the Harper Enhancement Tree, which I think is the first time it's gone on sale. So that's pretty slick. If you've been waiting for it to go on sale, it has done so. Buy away. The freebie for the week is a greater remove negative level potion ×1. You can with the code GRNLP9, 1 per account.
I've heard that's bound to character. Make sure you realize that before you use that free code.
Good advice. Let's see, the 145th Chronicle of the week. J.J. Flanagan has updated the popular Kenneth Crafting Planner with shard searching and more. Steel Render is streaming DDO regularly on Twitch as well. The annual Halfling Summer Games begin this weekend. So on Kyber, they do Halfling Summer. It's the sixth year they've been doing it. You roll a Halfling and go run some raids. Or bring a Halfling and go run some raids. The Howlers of Malkir had a Subterranean Odyssey with Vision Destruction and Hound of Zoriat. I'm hoping that went better than
that. Was tonight.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Great. See, the Kobold Consortium is a Kyber-based guild that is looking for the right candidates to join them. It's small, friendly, and casual. The comment for the week: what is your favorite monster to summon? We'll go around the horn real quick. Mythery, what's your favorite monster to summon?
A Beholder with my little Zoriat.
Sure, okay. Voodoo?
It's the same. I mean, that Beholder is so cool. But if it's sort of more regular summon spells, then I have to go with the Air Elemental. If anybody doesn't know out there, the Air Elemental provides awesome crowd control and can even be effective in epic levels.
Yep. Chai?
I like the Air Elemental as well. Used to be a lot more badass, but it's still effective.
If I say Lessa here, am I going to get in trouble?
You said its name.
Gonna move on quickly here. I hope you missed that. Let's see, we got a shout out for our guild feud. DDO players lament their loot luck and more in episode 34. DDO Gamer had a post on the Warlock on Lemania. Axel had a Warlock video and has some thoughts on the new class. Enrique entered the Temple of Elemental Evil, and Tactilicious and Craftilicious found a great item in a new blog post as well. See, there was an
I
update.
want a rematch in DDO in Guild Feud. Rematch.
I'd probably be happy to oblige. That was a good match actually. It came right down to the wire. It was back and forth in the speed round. It was great.
That's a good time.
And thanks for everyone who participated in that. I really appreciate it. And it turned out, I think it turned out great. So it was a lot of fun. Let's see, there's the weekly Wednesday live stream was on the Warlock Legacy. So it was a preview. They had Vargwill and Steelstar kind of chatting about Warlock, so you can check that out. And Severlin still wants to know about your preferences for armor, helms, and weapons. It's a forum post for that. And it looks like Jerry went to Fire on Thunder Peaks and Thalanis, so a lot of fun there. So videos to point out this week. Voodoo here had a Von 4 puzzle solution video. So if you've been wondering how to do the wheels in the wheel puzzle room, you can check that out. Although I would tell you that I think you were calling it a scorpion.
Yep.
Most people I run into call it E, the letter E. So you have
E, really? I've never heard that. I've heard dragonfly, I've heard bug, I've never heard of E.
Well, because if you look at, there's the F, right? Which I think you actually called an F. And the E has one more underneath it. All
right.
So by extrapolation, you get an E. Let's see. Axel had a Warforged enhancement tree review as well on his YouTube page. Let's see. DDO Gamer was busy this week. He had posts on the Warlock preview. He previewed Eldritch Blast. He went to Fire Peaks and tried to tank Fire Peaks mostly unsuccessfully. It sounded kind of messy. It involved a lot of death, I think. He had a bit of a rough go of it. Tactilicious and Craftilicious had a Warlock preview as well. Players News had episode 35. And Iron Blaze on DDO Gamer was talking about Raging and Rune Arms. So he made a Barbarian and Artificer multi-class. Cocktail Hour had their 86th episode. Yours truly was featured on it. And if you ever wanted to hear me really rant about stuff, I occasionally give small ones here, but I kind of went off for probably like 30 minutes with a little help from Samus on a bit of a rant. So you can go check that out as well. And the Damsels of DDO had their 17th episode, which also had a debate on it. Vampires versus werewolves, which felt a little bit too much like a Twilight thing going on there. But there you go. DDOcast news regarding Guild Feud results. They are coming. I've figured out who are the winners. I have to contact them and send out prizes. So. If you played, check your mail in the next week or so. Give me some time. I got to go on every server, do a lot of rolling, and figure out what I got to give away and stuff like that. And it's been a little bit of a busy time. Also, coming soon, there will be another DDOcast event. I'm working on getting that out hopefully next week. Voodoo has seen it. He won't tell you any spoilers on it, but he will tell you that it looks pretty fun and awesome.
Should be fun.
I had him preview it to make sure I wasn't totally off my rocker, and I think the response was basically, "This looks awesome. Are you totally off your rocker?"
Community events for the win. I think those are so awesome.
Yeah, and it should be fun. It should be easily accessible. I've been doing Makar DDO's challenge, and some of the comments that people have made is it's kind of elitist, and it really kind of is. You only get points if you run something on elite. You pretty much have to run it on as low a difficulty level as possible. So you can, and if you want to watch me when we try these different challenges, you can check that out on our YouTube and at DDOcast.com. I have been videoing them and posting them. My failures included, the last week was doing Against the Demon Queen 1 and 2 on a level 9 character on Elite. And as expected, DQ1 as expected was pretty much a walk in the park. A lot of folks reported problems with Disintegrate. for whatever reason, I don't know if they just completely missed me. I didn't have any problems with it. I walked right through it. I don't think I even died in that one. It just took time to kill stuff. DQ2 was a completely different story. It was surprisingly a different story, and I got hosed pretty much time and again. I didn't have a lot of time to do it. That week was a particularly largely busy week. So I tried it a few times, had just enough time to try a different character and get it flagged and try it, only for it to be even less effective. And I pretty much just ran out of time and sacrificed more sleep than I probably should have in the first place. But the biggest problem was basically the archer's crippling was just too much to really overcome. So I should have done what I thought about doing for a second character instead, but I went a completely different tactic, and that was to take 4 levels of paladin and a couple levels of artificer, or 4 paladin, 3 artificer, and 2 monk instead of 4 artificer, so that you could get the 10% movement speed out of the defender tree. I didn't. I got all the way to War and Destruction on the one that I posted, and then I pretty much got hosed because almost right away I got crippled, and it didn't go very well after that. So other stuff going on. General gaming news. We mentioned this before. Infinite Crisis, which is a Turbine game, is shutting down. They have said that they're not expecting it to impact plans for DDO, which is encouraging. But and hey, if you're at Turbine, you're listening to this, our thoughts go out to you. We hope for the best for you guys as much as we can. We don't like hearing the news, and I personally like the people who work at Turbine. They make a fun game. I enjoy it for all its flaws and things that maybe I wish were different. I very greatly appreciate that they have jobs doing this, and I enjoy it. So thank you, and I hope everything goes as best as it can for you guys. And also, Massively OP, we'll link this in the show notes, had an article about why we should care about Infinite Crisis shutting down. It was a pretty good article, so I had it there. No post this week, so we'll skip right through that, and I'll go to closing. Mythery, do you want to plug what's going on with the Damsels and stuff like that?
We are basically going to play our epic level characters all summer. There might be a few wolf packs in there, but mostly we're doing all epics this summer.
And how can people watch you and listen to you and stuff like that?
We are every other Tuesday, so not next Tuesday, but the following one. And on Twitch to play, and then the following Wednesday we talk about what we did and various other things. Our website is Damsels of DDO.com. You can go there and you can look at all of our previous Twitch, you can listen to our podcasts, and Sabadate has a blog there and some other interesting things to look at there.
Great. Chai, do you want to plug Sublime or anything else you got going on?
Sure, we're Sublime Permaneth Guild. We are on Guild Portal, and we are starting to hit up some raids currently. People are getting a little bit more brave with their epic characters, so we are starting to get into a lot more higher level content. We are recruiting, not super actively, but if you wanted to join, hit us up on our website, send us a tell. Send somebody a tell in game. Most of us have officer level status so that we can do guild invites and things of that nature. We play all levels of the game, so most of us will roll a level 1 character to come help you out.
Voodoo, what do you got going on?
May marked the 1-year anniversary of the first video, quest video that I posted on YouTube. So here we are a year later. I have something like 175 videos. So check that out. Search Ginger Spice with a Y, not an I, with a Y, one word on YouTube, and you'll find my videos. It's also an official fan site, so you can find me on DDO.com in the fan site listing. And the High Lords of Malkier on Sarlona have 3 more teaching raid events before we shut them down for the year. This will have put us working through all the raids in the game twice, except for Tempest Spine, which we're not doing. So we still got a Fall of Truth and Reaver event coming up. We have a Caught in the Web event coming up, and we have an Epic Von 6 event coming up. So watch the Sarlona forums for information on those events.
Awesome. And if you're looking for his YouTube page as well, or the Damsels actually as well, I should mention too. I'm pretty sure I have the Damsels on there. If you go to DDOCast YouTube page, one of the I have a section that is other people's videos that I linked to, and I linked to specifically Voodoo's raids, teaching raids playlist, and I think the Damsels playlist as well. So you can check those out if you want to. If you're already on
I probably should have
DDOCast
said you
YouTube,
can
so.
download our stuff from iTunes, but I didn't.
Yeah, you can do the Damsels on iTunes as well, and the Cocktail Hour as well from iTunes. So I'll plug that since I was on that show this week as well. So thanks to everyone for listening to the show, and thanks you guys for being here. Really appreciate you guys spending some time. Particularly, I think both Chai and Voodoo are on East Coast time, and it's pretty darn late for them. And
Thanks for having. Sorry I was late.
Yeah, not a big deal. Got the show in and had a lot of fun. So that's the important thing. And I hope you guys had fun listening to this, and hope some of the debate stuff was interesting and helpful for you. Thanks also to our other cast contributors. Really appreciate all those guys for helping us out, making a great show. And thanks to Turbine and Wizards for making DDO happen, and thanks to Cyberbears for hosting the podcast and making DDOcast happen. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, our calendar, previous shows. There's some swag if you want T-shirts and stuff. I think you can actually buy this cool-looking T-shirt here as well if you want to. And other fun stuff. And just so you know, I don't make any money off of the swag or anything like that if you're worried about buying a shirt. But if you want to be part of the show, just say hi. You can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. On the topic of money, I don't necessarily want to plug this too hard, but if you'd like to support the show, go to ddocast.com. You can donate some money. Use it for prizes. There's the event that I mentioned that's coming up. It's going to have big prizes. It's mostly provided by fans, but also partially by me. So if you want to help me bring some of that out and lessen the burden on my personal pocket, I greatly appreciate that. But at the same time, don't give me $1,000. Not spending that much money on the show. But if you'd like to support the show, please feel free to do so. I always want that option to be out there. I don't plug it very much, and I do that intentionally. But some people like to support things in that way, and I want that to be an option for you. And rest assured that I spend the money. I try to spend the money as wisely as I can, and to stretch it out as best as I can for prizes and such things. And hey, if you ever want to know what the money that has been given is spent for, you can send me an email, and I will send you my spreadsheet that tells you what the money was spent on. And you can take a look at that and call me out on things that I shouldn't spend the money on if you want. So have at that. With that, the closing tip for the week comes from Saxon on Kenneth. When questing alone, hirelings are a huge advantage. Sometimes when they work better, that's true. But so with that, until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate. Have fun, and don't forget to head to Lemania and try out the new Warlock. Thanks for listening.